call our meeting to order to appoint a new board member to the vacated seat. Would you please take roll?
Ms. Atkins.
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel.
Here.
Mrs. Peterson. Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the December 18th, 2023 special board meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins.
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. And now we'll have the board candidate interviews then after the board deliberation. With that, we can go into closed session per Iowa Code 21.51I. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Ms. Atkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. And we are in closed session, so we will please. are out of closed session and back in open session, and we have our action item to appoint someone to sit in the vacated board seat. Before we do go into that action item, I want to thank the four gentlemen that applied. There's no one that, you all have qualities, and not one of you wouldn't do a good job sitting on the board. And it's just a decision we need to make. And so, but I thank everyone and encourage you to stay involved. We have a lot of things coming up at Lewis Central, and we need people out in the community to share with others and to get information out there. And so want to thank everyone for the interest in Lewis Central, and because we all bleed blue, I think. So with that, action item 4.01, appoint new board member.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Adkins.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Travis Hausman to the open seat for the remainder
Of
of
the
this
term.
term until the next.
Until the next election.
Election.
Yep.
Right.
And just to
Second.
clarify, right now, the next election will be in 2 years. If we were to, let's say we run another bond vote next November, that seat becomes vacated at that time again. So maybe it'll be electionable. So it could be a 1-year term, or it could be a 2-year term, so.
Okay,
Did you get my second? Second. Okay.
and we have a second. All right, any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Again, thank you, everyone. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Travis, can you come up?
Oh,
and
okay.
I
I'm
will
sorry.
Swear you in.
I'm jumping ahead.
And the other three, just so you know, I'm not gonna let you off the hook that easy. So just like, I mean, ask Tim. When Tim did this last time, I said, I'm keeping you involved, and I think he's been plenty busy over the next year, so.
Right.
So same thing with you three. I'm gonna try to play off your skill set as much as possible, so, thank you very much. I like when people come out and say, we're willing to help and this is what I can do. That makes it really easy on me, so.
Will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Director in the Lewis Central Community School District as now or hereafter required by law? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have to stay anyway, we have another meeting. So, we are now adjourned. I'm letting her catch up.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
all
Yes,
three,
thank you, guys.
Very much.
Let Andrea get caught up. Okay, you ready? All right. We'll go ahead and call our regular board meeting to order. Would you please take roll?
Ms. Adkins?
Here.
Mr. Houston?
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel? Here. Mrs. Peterson? Mr. Sorensen?
Here.
Mr. Wright? Mrs. Shuffle?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the December 18th, 2023 regular board meeting agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright? Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Commendation and good news.
I have a presentation. It's not incredibly long, but there's some great things on there. Okay, if you click the next one. So we actually had, for the first time, I think when I was a principal, about my third year, I started inviting legislators to come into the school and walk the building, come meet with me, talk about what we're doing, what recommendations we'd have for any kind of legislation, any feedback. And in those last 3 years as a principal, and then the 5 years as a superintendent in Missouri Valley, and now in my second year as a superintendent here, I finally got 2 legislators to come. So out of a grand total of almost 10 years, for the first time, we had legislators visit my building, or our district. So we had Senator Dan Dawson came last Wednesday. He had quite the eventful day with both of them, Senator Dan Dawson and Representative Brent Sechrist. I knew some of the priorities of the governor and the legislator the last couple of years have been revolving around like early literacy, college and career readiness planning, early childhood education, and then like social emotional learning. And so we went to the high school and did tours with Mr. Vinchettle and Mrs. Justison to talk about what type of programming we're providing for college and career readiness, including our career and technical ed programs and career and technical ed expansion that came with the building of the new auditorium. And then we went to Titan Hill and we met with literacy teachers, went in classrooms to view literacy instruction. In this picture you'll see Senator Dawson was actually reading to the students in this one. That read alouds are a big part of our literacy instruction. And then for at least Representative Sechrist, he got to see a social emotional learning lesson in which they were talking about coping strategies and making sure that you're using your voice to let people know if you're having, issues with things going on in your life. We didn't get quite that far with Senator Dawson because as he was reading, I got called down to the gym, so I started heading down to the gym. And then about 2 minutes later, as I'm high-fiving kids walking down the hall, they did an all clear and evacuated the building because of a small fire that was going on in the gymnasium back room. So his visit got cut short. So he's going to come back and do some lunch, and we're going to do a little bit more classroom visiting. But I just want to thank them for coming. If you go to the next one. So we've had some, that's weird. There it is. So we had some fall awards here. A couple things that have come up, and I should have put that on there too. We had Mr. Eichhorst, he's going, Eichhorn. He's going to University of Iowa. He committed, so that's pretty awesome. Then we had Brooke Larson is the top left picture. She was the non-paral or KMA Player of the Year in our area, non-paral Player of the Year. So for volleyball, and then the bottom left picture is the All-City team. So we had 4 representatives on the All-City team. That was Brooke Larson, Edison Holt, Anna Strohmeyer, and then Ashlyn Haverman from left to right. In the top right, that is, oh my goodness, I didn't write down his name.
Whitty?
Oh, yeah, Curtis Whitty. So he is the top right. He is the All-City Player of the Year for football. He is going to Wayne State to go play. And then we have, that's my alma mater, so it's a fantastic school, by the way. And then we have Garrett Rutledge was named the KMA Large Class Lineman of the Year, and he just announced right before the school meeting tonight that he got a full ride and is committed to Iowa State to go play football there. So pretty awesome. I had to make sure he had announced it before I said anything because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to out him on YouTube for the 6 people that are watching. So we have college and career readiness opportunities. Top left, that was so one of the cool things that we've been doing is we've not only, so this is from the College and Career Readiness Counselor that is paid for by Iowa West through a grant. And so he's provided options for our kids to not only have people in the middle, you'll see where people come and they present to us, but when they've also gone out to different businesses and organizations. Just in the last week or so, they've visited Menards. They went to an engineering firm and got to learn about how to build bridges and roads. Bottom right, we're also expanding into elementary schools. So the bottom right, Office Air Force Base came to Titan Hill. and did some presentations about different careers at Offutt. So really just kind of making that a focus so kids have a reason to go to school. You know, sometimes they don't really understand, especially if school's not their thing. They don't see, you know, I don't like doing math, I don't like, you know, reading, you know, what is this gonna help me for anyway? So be able to see, you know, if you're gonna do these careers and these things are things that interest you, you're gonna have to have this knowledge. So those connections are really important. If you go to the next one. So lastly, we had the Lights of Jingle Bell Hill. So this was our 5th grade musical. I wasn't able to be there that night, but I heard it was magical. That's the word that somebody told me. So, and Titan Hill does put on pretty phenomenal musicals. I mean, I think there's about 240 kids up there. So to get 240 kids on stage at the same time to be able to do anything really is pretty amazing.
And a
So.
side note on that, that is a student-built set.
Student-built set, and it was the first time, according to Austin, that we really got to play with lights. So, all of our new light setup for the auditorium. So, he was pretty pumped about that. Oh, and so, yep, last week, we had the high school holiday concert. That was phenomenal. We hosted a wrestling duel the same night, or triangular the same night. That made the parking lot very full. I will still say that if you want the best seat in the auditorium, go to the upper deck. So as far as music goes, if you sit on the floor, the music kind of goes over, the sound kind of goes over you. If you sit underneath the awning, which is I know is a favorite spot of Director Adkins over there, same thing. The music it's kind of muffled. I listened to half of it down in the awning area and half of it up above, and there really is no comparison. To be up top, the music just kind of floats right up. The sound is phenomenal, so crisp. You can almost sit there and pick out individual voices as they're singing. It's wonderful. So, yeah. So just I feel like the school never sleeps. You know, it's like you burn from one activity to the next, and really that level of quality never drops off. I mean, basketball, the girls just beat like number 3 Norwalk last week. The boys just. I got to see the replay somewhere, but apparently we beat Bellevue East. Is that who we beat? Gretna East.
Yeah.
Beat Gretna East the other night. Wrestling, they're doing great. Little Weston Porter looks like he's going to follow in his brother's footsteps and try to get us a state championship. His brother wrestled for Underwood and was a 3-time state champion there. So, and I don't think Weston's come close to losing it all so far this year. So, and by the way, he's my mentee, so I think he gets it all from me. You know, even though I did wrestle from 3rd through 8th grade, so I'm not going to brag, but I was pretty okay. So, I walked out and got a lot of buys. I was like, yep, I get that one. Any other good things out there?
We got to do something pretty exciting at Lewis Central on Friday night, and we hosted a movie snippet premiere. We have a freshman student by the name of Dane Ranney who auditioned for and was placed in the lead of a Toronto-based movie production company and called Windy Morning Productions. I was invited to MC the event on Friday night, and the Windy Morning Productions came from Toronto to Lewis Central just for one night. And by the way, they wanted to take our auditorium home with them. But they showed the first 5 minutes of the clip that Dane is starring in this movie role. It's a short 30-minute, I don't know, I can't remember, like you would see it like at Sundance Film Festival, short film. But it was pretty exciting to be a part of that, and it was the CEO and the producer and writer of this short film called Environment. And they had kind of a little Q&A with those 3 folks. And so pretty exciting for a Lewis Central student to have a lead in a movie, and then to have the premiere here at Lewis Central. So very exciting for that young man.
That is cool. Anyone else?
Okay.
All right.
And upcoming event, just so you know, the show choir opener is January 8th. So.
All right. We'll go on to the next item on our agenda, comments and suggestions. This is the first time during our agenda that anyone in the audience or anyone online, if they'd like to type something in, can address the board. All right. Hearing none, we'll go on to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Is there an updated personnel sheet?
Yes. No, you don't need to. There's not anyone listed on that yet. So the updates are under the coaches and a license resignation.
And what is the SY?
School year.
What's that?
School year.
School year, gotcha. I didn't know if any had, planning on retiring and that, you know, since we voted on that, as an early incentive, so I didn't know if anyone had,
Yes, they will
Yes.
be
Yeah.
included in this.
okay.
Yes.
Yep, anybody that has an early resignation, whether it's a retirement or they're just leaving at the end of the school year, they'll be included in that.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
And there is also an additional agreement that is at each of your spots that is included in the consent agenda.
Question on J. I was curious,
Can you
if-
scroll down a little bit, Jay?
are those new positions or change of?
No, those are, so we added new positions last year to help with like the organization of events, like, so we took, Ryan, Barker was the middle school AD, for years, but he never really got paid for it, and so, Mr. Dermody said, you know, I'll take it back over, but we need somebody, we just need another person to kind of be a point person to help with certain activities. So we said we would have one point person, call them activity supervisors for each season, for each school, each season. So,
Oh, okay.
so that's would be these two, would be Ryan would be the, paid activity supervisor. Basically means he's the one that meets the home team, he's the one that gets them to their lot, you know.
For the
that kind of
winter
thing. For the winter
season.
season, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
any other discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Report, 6.01, superintendent report.
Just have a few things here. So, right now, the big focus is planning for next year, or planning at least for our facility projects. And so I will have an item on here in a little bit to get somebody on board to help me out a little bit with this. But basically, the reason we need to get going on it now is because the lead times for a lot of our stuff is just long. So, for instance, if you wanted anything with HVAC, like right now we're in the midst of trying to design, because we have to move forward with getting those chillers replaced regardless of the high school. And so we're in the midst of coming up with design for the chillers and a bidding process, and also the roofs at the high school that need to be, the worst roofs at the high school that need to be addressed. And then looking to, if we're gonna do the chillers, making sure that we take care of the water issue that's over the gym, and taking those units off so we can do some humidity control in the gym and in the rest of the athletic wing, because otherwise it gets so, like in the summer, it gets so humid in there that water just pools on the floor and pours down the walls. It's pretty crazy. And so trying to figure out, can we take that off of the current chiller to reduce that load and put some standalone units in the athletic wing in order to make sure that we can keep the humidity out and the temperature up. And then looking to put increased coverage of controls in there as well, so we can in the summer, we don't have to have the entire building going at 72 or 71 degrees. We're able to zone off certain areas. So those that are unoccupied in the summer might sit at 75, and the other areas that actually have to be cooled would be down. So pretty big cost savings there. But all of that takes design and planning. And right now, even if we can get the plans formalized over the break, and we can get them out to bid in January, we're still looking at possibly September or October for installation of the chillers, which means that we have to make our chillers work to the best of their ability for at least one more summer season. So it'll be an interesting summer for sure. So because we don't want to pour in a ton of money into them if we're going to be replacing them, because you could easily put, $70,000 or $80,000 into these chillers. But then if we're going to tear them out, that's $70,000 or $80,000 that could be going to something else. So it's all about balance. So the facility stuff is always something that we're moving forward with. And then the next one is, so we did have, just to confirm, we did have a fire at Titan Hill last week. The fire was put out immediately by one of our custodial workers and one of our teachers. They put them out, they saved the day. It was essentially rags that had different chemicals on them. When you put them in a dryer together, they just kind of combusted. So, but it created no heat, but a lot of smoke. And so that was the main thing, is we'll have an insurance claim there because we had to make sure that we had, Surf Pro came in and spent about 4 days trying to clean when it's in the gym, it goes all the way up and around. So they had to clean everything to try to get all that smoke smell out. So, but luckily we had insurance that'll cover that. But that was the exciting, that was exciting. I think my kids are still talking about it. And then for some reason they think I started it, because right before they announced an evacuation, that's when they came on the loudspeaker and requested that Dr. Hazen come to the gym. So I came to the gym, and then they said everybody had to evacuate. Somehow the kids are putting those two together, that I started the fire. So I just want to make it clear to the public out there, all 5 of you, that I did not start this fire. So, and then last thing is, the high school is actually convening, and I know Ms. Muto was there today, trying diligently to relook at our high school graduation requirements. So I know when Chapter 12 changed last year, like, this was an inevitability. Like, when the rules change of what the state requires us to look at, it's inevitable that we have to take a look at our own requirements for graduation, which is not bad. It's a way for us to rethink things. What might have been important when the graduation requirements first came into existence 20 years ago may not be a focus of ours right now, or something we deem to be extremely important. So I know that they talked about, in general, more flexibility, talking about making sure that students had the ability to kind of drive the direction that they wanted to go, rather than having such strict requirements that that just kind of dictated that they had to take these classes, which may have prohibited them from taking others that they wanted to take. But yet, trying to balance that with what is Lewis Central known for? Like, what are kind of some of our non-negotiables? So I know that, luckily I don't have to be a part of those conversations. I'll get to read it when they're done and say, this looks great, but it'll be a little bit of a road to go down. So, so that's kind of what we're working on right now. Any questions? Okay.
No? All right, we'll go then to our discussion items. 7.01, exchange of initial proposals from the LCEA.
Just give them to each one of the board members, would be great.
Yes, please. Thank you. I can pass them all down if you want.
And you can just highlight just some of the areas you guys are looking at, having a conversation about. Oops, that's what. That's right.
I think we have plenty. Okay,
just go in order. First of all, I wanna start by saying, we have a 5-year contract, that we've been in the middle of for a year or two. And I know that language is only brought up if both parties agree to bring up language changes, because it's a 5-year contract. So that being said, we're proposing, current contract on Articles 1 through 3. And then in leaves of absence, under sick leave, we propose adding a paragraph. It's what's in italics down at the bottom. I typed up all of A1. And we propose adding a sick leave pool. The language says participating employees will give at least 1 sick leave day within the first week of the school term or within 10 days of the person beginning employment. Donations will happen at the beginning of each term. A participating employee requesting sick leave from the pool will contact the board of directors, the board secretary, and the association. The board of directors and the association will jointly approve or deny the use of sick leave from the pool. Priority will be given to those participating employees who have accumulated less than 70 days of sick leave. Any participating employee may use up to 30 sick leave days from the pool. The employee may reapply if necessary if they provide a doctor's note. Then Article 5, current contract, and then we get to wages and salaries. We propose adding $500 to the base, including step movement in addition to lane movement, and adding $400 for longevity. That package is a $534,223 package. It's a 3.28% package. Okay, and then under advancement on the salary schedule, educational lanes, we propose deleting the line, it's struck through in that paragraph. All credits earned for advancement must be graduate credits. And we propose that because some people are wanting to take classes to get an endorsement or something like that, and sometimes those classes aren't graduate level, and this, as it reads right now, would prevent them from being able to use those hours to move over on the salary schedule. And then we just have the cleaning up things by putting in the next year's president in the notices, and cleaning up some date kind of things. We also are interested in a committee to study ways to improve our current salary schedule. There are some things in it that don't make sense. So we are in favor of participating in a committee to study that. And that's our initial proposal.
Okay. Does anybody on the committee want to read it, or do you want me to just kind of go through what you guys had voiced?
You can go through it, that's
Okay.
fine.
So, like I said, I'm very much an intermediary person, so I'm just between you guys, but I do know that, what the board had proposed back, if you look through this, no change in Articles 1 through 5, no change in A or B of the wages and salary in Article 6. In C, advancement on salary schedule, the proposal would be just to add the italic section there, so it says all credits earned for advancement must be graduate credits unless approved in advance in writing by the superintendent, for the same reasons that you guys talked about. There's opportunity there for other people, and one of the things I think that, and I've voiced this in both parties, like, I think we're on the same page as far as, everybody's on the same page as far as making sure that certain language doesn't prohibit us from doing what's best for kids. So, next one is Article 7, supplemental play. That's just to delete that article and put it into a board policy. And that's just the supplemental pay structure to put it in a board policy, which allows the board then to make changes as needed rather than have to negotiate it on a yearly basis. And then the district said vertical step, horizontal movement, no increase to the career increment longevity amounts, $500 per FTE increase. So that would be the step and movement plus $500 across the board flat fee for the 24-25 contract, and then the reopen for the 25-26 the district would like to establish a joint committee to study a new salary schedule and to establish a joint committee to study a sick leave bank. So, and then update names and dates as necessary. So I think you'll see a lot of similarities between the two.
Yeah.
So,
By-
and then,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
no, you're fine.
I was just gonna say, by removing, if the supplemental pay scale was removed and put into board policy, is that something that we're gonna start taking a look at because of the differences in different area, like, would that would be a priority?
Yeah, I think so a lot of schools have put it into their board policy because it allows the school to be more proactive and changing certain things. Like, for instance, let's say that a group of kids came up and they want to start esports for next year, or for second semester. They're like, hey, got a big grant, want to start esports for second semester. We are bound to what the letter of the law is in the supplemental contract. So we could provide, right now, the only opening in there is to provide a sponsorship stipend, which is very small compared to what you might otherwise put somebody on, like a coaching stipend. So that's all we can do right now. So pretty much any, like, for instance, mock trial, right now we pay mock trial relatively nothing compared to what other districts pay mock trial, but the difference is it's not in our agreement here. And so by me adding it this year, we've had mock trial for years, by me requesting the board to give them a stipend, we're bound by the contract language to only give him what we can for a sponsorship. That's all we could do. If the board had control of like if it was a board policy, I could make the recommendation to the board to edit the policy to add a mock trial sponsor at a rate that's, commensurate with what other districts are paying mock trial,
Okay.
and then the board could do a review and then do an approval, and we wouldn't have to wait one calendar year to be able to do it, so, or you could see things like, if for whatever reason, like a couple years ago, we had like in Missouri Valley, we had we always had a cheer sponsor or whatever, but the cheer sponsor one year decided that they want to do state competition. Well, I felt like if you're going to do more and you're going to do a state competition, we should probably compensate you for all those additional hours and to be able to extend the season to state competition. So I went to the board, asked them to create a new, it was a new state cheerleading sponsor stipend to be able to put in there, If it was part of the board contract, we wouldn't be able to have that conversation technically until 2027. So, or if it was in a regular contract. So that's the only thing, flexibility and trying to make sure that we're able to compensate our employees at a rate that's fair and equitable, especially when last minute things come up. So,
Perfect.
but, all right.
Okay.
That's it. So just to clarify, right now, this is actually typically done here. In a lot of districts, this is done in a live board meeting like this. Otherwise, it's kind of done in a special board meeting, so we just said, let's do it tonight, just gonna get it over with. Now that we both kind of exchanged, the board and the association both exchanged agreements, now it's just kind of open. So the board will get together with the association after break, and then that's when they'll have their kind of closed door negotiation process. So
And it'll be the negotiation committee.
it'll be
Not
just
the
the negotiation
entire-
committee, it's not the full
Right.
board. No.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Did you guys get a copy of that, by the way? Okay.
Gave her a whole stack.
Okay, perfect, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to 7.02, bus purchase.
So what's crazy is about 5 years ago, we got a quote on buses in Missouri Valley, and it was just standard buses. This is prior to seatbelts, and they came in at about 104,000. And then after the seatbelt law changed in end of 2019, 2020, we required seatbelts on buses. All of a sudden, that price went up to about 115,000. And so this year, when I asked Mr. Skokin to get me a bid on buses, because we have 28 buses, we really need to be replacing at least 2 buses a year. And just at that rate, we're still going to have 14-year-old buses by the time those buses get turned over. We haven't bought buses the last 2 years, and so I said we got to get at least 2 buses this year. he came back and the bus quotes were at 177,000 and 165,000 for just standard buses, no air conditioning, no nothing, just regular buses. 165 and 177,000 or 177,000. So I said, well, if that's what it is, that's what it is. I mean, that stinks, but we'll go ahead and get those approved. And then it came out that buses right now, lead times on new buses are 18 months. So if we put in an order for buses tomorrow, so we're approved tonight, order tomorrow, we are not getting them until at earliest May of 2025. So at the end of next school year is when we receive our buses. And the problem is we need a couple buses right now. We just blew an engine on a bus. They want over $20,000 to replace the engine. We made to make a decision on it. And so I started doing some searching, and I found 3 buses down in Oklahoma from National Bus Sales. They are going to, they are 2020s. They have about 30,000 miles apiece. I think they're ranging from 31,000 to 34,000. I gotta find my paper here. I don't know what I did with that. Sorry, I could speak more articulately if I. So 3 buses, they want 87,900 apiece. They have ranged from 31 to 33,000 miles on them. They'll have to do a little work to make sure they comply with Iowa laws, because we require some different things that other states don't. Like, for instance, all of our doors have to be labeled, like on the outside, like your gas hatch and everything has to be labeled individually. The glass in the actual door has to be like a different rating than what they have like in a lot of other states. We have to have a stop arm or a clear arm in front. There's some things like that other states don't require. So they have to get it up to Iowa spec. And so after doing that, they quoted those out at 87,900 apiece. Total with delivery for all 3 buses to have them bust up here would be $266,610. And that's with the $2,900 delivery fee. They drive them up and then they fly back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they would be here a little after winter break gets done. So my recommendation is to, for right now, let's get those 3 buses. Let's get them up here. Let's get them in our fleet. We would turn over, we currently have a 2006, 2008, 2004, which we don't run. We mostly keep that for parts. But 2004, 2006, 2008, a couple 2009s. So we would rotate out kind of the oldest buses that we have, and then make sure that we get these ones rolling in there. The nice thing about it is even though they're used, they're low mileage, we can get 3 buses for less than we could get the price of 2 buses. I mean, each one of these buses is approximately 50% of what we would pay for a brand new bus. So I would actually buy 4, but they only have 3 down there. So I'll go ahead and, if the board approves this tonight, we'll get those 3 ordered, we'll get them up here. And then that doesn't mean that we can stop, probably purchasing 2 new buses, but we're gonna try to get some different bids, maybe try some different things. But I'll probably still come back to you guys next month and ask you guys to approve new buses. That just because 18 months out, at least if we order them now, we'll have them in 18 months, but we'll have 3 right away that we can dive into. So, but just gotta be strategic on how we buy them. And so that would be, I guess, my recommendation. Do you guys have any questions?
I know it's probably kind of like a used car lot, but is there anything wrong with them as far as why they are up for sale? I mean, I know we probably wouldn't get rid of a bus with 30,000 miles on it.
So these are all leased buses.
Okay.
So they came from right there in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
So they lease a lot of buses, so they rotate them through. We did this in Missouri Valley a lot. I would buy a lot of the used lease buses because at the time, new buses were 110,000. And you could buy leased buses that came off of a 3-year lease with 30,000 miles or 24,000 miles on it for like 60. So we would go ahead and just buy those. And we really didn't have any issues with them. I mean, once in a while you can kind of get stuck with the lemon, but you can get a lemon with a new one too. The downside is because it's in Tulsa, it's not like we've had anybody drive down and take a look at them. We did, the guy walked around and did a video tour of all of them. We have an agreement in place that just because they drive them up here, if they don't meet our specs as they were listed, or they drive them up there, some glaring deficiency with it, we don't have to accept it. We can turn them back. So so there's a little bit of risk there, but not a lot. I mean, they could drive them up there and we could say, wait a minute, this thing's blue and it's, 2004. You're gonna take it back with you, so. But from everything I've seen so far, they look like they're pretty good shape, pretty good bus. I mean, it's a large bus sale company, so.
I just wasn't
yeah.
even thinking about leasing buses, so that's
Yeah.
why I was curious.
We did look at the lease bus route, but the same thing, they're 18 months out. So we said, well, we could, on a yearly basis, lease 6 buses, but it would be 18 months before we got those 6 buses here. So it's just kind of a tough scenario right now. But, yep. that's cool.
You said we had a bus, the engine blew.
We did, yep.
What year was that?
I think that was a 2010.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
one of our older buses.
It is. 2010 has 140,000 miles on it. That was one of the ones that originally I was like, well, geez, once I got the bids back for 177, I'm like, well, put a new engine in it, for 25,000, that makes more sense. But then as I was talking to another bus transportation director from another district, kind of explaining our situation, mostly asking him if he was seeing the same price for buses, he came back and said, when I was telling him about that, he's like, but do you realize that you're still putting you're putting a brand new engine or motor in a 2010 vehicle? He goes, you're not thinking about your transmission, you're not thinking about your like all the other things that are part of a bus. I mean, you're sticking, it's like if you, I mean that's what you're doing. You have a 20 or like a 14-year-old bus that you're sticking a brand new engine into, and he's like, you're gonna have all those other issues. So I'm not a car guy, so I can't speak about like what those other issues are, but
Well, to pass inspection, there are other things
Right.
that go through that.
suspension,
so-
that's what I was thinking. He's like, your suspension's still gonna be 14 years old. He's like, everything else, he's like, it's not worth it. So I said, okay. But
Good to
I
know.
guess my question is, if these are, I see they're pre-owned plus, and if they're that low of mileage, are they still covered by some of the original warranties?
So a lot of the warranties are 36-month warranties, and so I wouldn't hold my breath that they're covered by any warranty. Nice thing is we have a mechanic on hand, so I don't know that we typically have a lot of issues in that first 36 months anyway, so it might be fairly, nothing that he couldn't work on. So I will say the one downside about these is we typically buy a 250 horsepower engine. These are 200 horsepower engines, so they're a little lighter there, but we don't run a lot of hills around here. It's pretty flat. These wouldn't necessarily be the ones that we'd send down the road to Des Moines, just more in-town route stuff, so.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Everyone, any other questions? All right, thank you. 7.03, 2024-2025 school calendar on the first reading.
I'm gonna have, so this is just a first reading. So in order to approve a school calendar, we have to have an actual board hearing to be able to do it. Can you blow it up a little bit so we can see it by chance? So the calendar, what I did was I took, last year I did that survey with parents and I kind of discussed, what are your priorities? And they came back and a big priority for them was getting out before June. Another big priority for them was making sure that we had a long winter break. Another big policy or priority for them was a week-long spring break. Obviously, because of our inability to have any flexibility with when we start school at the beginning of the year, that makes it very difficult because there's only so many days, weekdays, between August 23rd and June 1st. And so as we started looking at this, I basically took and mirrored last year's calendar to the best of my ability. So what we run into trouble with is if you scroll down, there we go. She's coming. If you scroll down, so like this year we're out on, oop, too far. Go to December for me. So this is the big one right here. So as you look, like December 20th is a Friday. There is about a 0% chance we're gonna get by with coming back to school on the 23rd. If I did, I think I would have a ton of sick staff and a ton of sick kids if I said we're coming back on the 23rd. I don't think that's happening. So by getting out on the 20th, we're already losing 2 days in comparison to last year's calendar, because last year's calendar, or this year's calendar that we're on now, we get on the 22nd. So we're technically losing 2 instructional days. So how we're trying to get those back is if you scroll down, we're also losing some instructional days because the 3rd lies, scroll up a little bit, in January. So the 3rd is a Wednesday this year, the 3rd is a Friday next year, which means that I did hear a lot of positive feedback from staff when I put in the one PD day when we come back from winter break. They said that was great. Wasn't like you come in from winter break and all of a sudden it's hot and heavy with kids, it's a little bit of a transition day. But if we did transition day on the 3rd, like right now, the kids will have the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th before they come back to school. So we're losing a couple days there because they won't come back until the 6th. So they're gonna have a pretty long break next year. So they had a little bit of a shorter break, 13-day break this week, this year. They'll have a solid 16-day break next year. So if we scroll down a little bit more, so right now, I shifted some of the parent-teacher conferences were in January. One of the requests is to move it back to February because it was pretty tight having it in January, so we moved back to February. We did make the 17th, which was a no-school day for everybody. Is that President's Day? We did make that a PD day because we were trying to get in all of our days to try to make as much as we can work. And so if you continue to scroll down, we still left the trimester days in there. We will not switch to semesters next year. We're gonna stay trimesters. I know that's been some conversation. So we were able to fit a short spring break into March, and the reason we did that instead of piggybacking onto Easter break like we did this year to get a longer break was because Easter's not until the end of April next year. It's on the 20th of April. And I do not believe that it's good for anybody's sanity to go an entire month without any kind of a break. So I put in 2 days there in March to try to give our staff and students some sort of a break in the middle of March. So then if you continue to go down, you'll see parent-teacher conferences in April. Again, that's just for middle school, high school. We did cut conferences this year for elementary because it's the lowest attended conference. It's really not. So we're just gonna have a regular school week in April. For middle school, high school, they'll stick with conferences again because they have trimesters. We have just the Friday off before Easter to give some time for travel. And then if you look at the bottom, we do get out. Students' last day is the 29th. Teachers' last day is the 30th. So we are out before June. So like I said, it was this year's calendar was just harder because there's no way to do it. Our teachers have to have 188 contact days with the school. They have 180 or 192 contract days, 4 holidays in there, so 188 days we had to make fit in there. I have to make sure we get 1,080 hours put in there. If you scroll up and go over to the comparison, Lisa, kind of show you how it breaks down. So we have student contact days. This year's calendar has 176 at the middle school, high school, 177 at the elementary. Next year's, I'm recommending that we go 175, 176. It's just a day shorter, but it gives our staff another PD day. And that's because we turned that one vacation day that we had, which was President's Day, into a PD day. So that's how we added that back. So total days served for teachers is the same at 188 days. 4 staff paid holidays, so their contract hours all work out. Staff PD days go from 9 to 10, and from 36 to 37 early dismissals for PD. Our early dismissal holidays go from 1 to 2 of 2 early dismissal days for holiday. That's just before a holiday we have early dismissal. And then 139 all-day student attendance days, 136 all-day student attendance days this proposed for next year. The hours go from, staff hours will go to, this is just PD time, staff development, from 108 hours to 117 hours. Student hours actually don't dip too much. If you look down at the very bottom, we go from 1,108 hours to 1,100 hours. Part of that is because at CREFT, we added some time in because CREFT's building actually went shorter than any other, than like Titan Hills building. So we made their attendance time the same, and by extending that 15 minutes, the hours really don't change much. You're looking like a total of 8 hours difference, which is about one and a quarter or 1.5 instructional days. So, but we have to do 1,080 hours. So this still leaves us technically about 3.5 snow days or 3.5 days that we can be without school. Now, one of the changes, if you go over to November, and I'm just saying this because we've typically had this the last few years, we've been fortunate enough to make the state football championship game. And where the trimesters fall for next year, because you want to make them equal, it actually falls the week before the state championship game. So that typically we have that last day of trimester, and then we have a PD day after, and that has fallen on the state championship game weekend, which means that we can go to the state, you know, we can get out a little bit early, send everybody to state championship game, and then they don't have to hustle back the next day. If we make state championship game again, we'll have to think about possibly canceling school or doing something different, because they'll still play on a Thursday night, but they'll play on that 21st, and we do have school on that 22nd. So, but we'll let those cards fall when they do. I just wanted, when that comes out, for people to understand, you know, that. I guess with that said, this is the time for the board to give me feedback before I bring it back for a hearing discussion. Is there anything that you guys would recommend doing differently?
You don't have it down, but, one thing we've always looked at is how many days per trimester.
Yep, and it's on there. So,
Is it?
Yep, so you can see first trimester is 58 days. Sorry, it's
Okay, where
teeny
is that?
tiny print.
Okay, well, that might
Yeah.
be my problem.
Yep, so first trimester is 58 days, second trimester, scroll down to February for me, if you would.
I see
Is
it.
58 days,
Got
and
it.
then third trimester is 59 days.
Okay,
So,
I see it.
Yep, so it balanced out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's just tough. If they would let us start, like, if we could ideally start that Wednesday, the 21st of August, then that gives us 2 extra days, we can end for spring break, but there's zero flexibility with that from the state.
They don't allow,
Nope,
um,
no waivers, no
requests,
nothing.
waivers,
Nope.
that's it.
Used to let you do a waiver, no more.
Yeah.
So if we add any more days in, we would end up having to go into June, guaranteed. So, any more break days, I should say.
Okay. But snow days would be,
Yep, we
If
can,
we
we can
have
forgive a
to.
couple snow days, yep.
right, but if we have snowed in a week, then
Yep.
they would be added at
Yep,
the
and
end.
if we end up doing, any cancellation days, I'd do the same thing I did last year and I'll do this year, and I think the staff like it, where I do more flex day than a designated, we're coming back on June 2nd, 3rd. It's more of a flex day. They can decide what they need for their classroom, and then they can communicate with us what days they're gonna come in or what trainings they're gonna do, and et cetera,
Right.
so.
Okay. All right, any comments, discussion? And when will you have the hearing? Or-
We'll have this, well, it depends. I need to get it before staff, so it'll
Okay.
probably be June 29th, will be the board meeting. I
Okay.
don't know that staff will have adequate time to review it and give feedback before then,
Okay.
so.
Did you, what day?
January.
I was gonna say-
January 29th.
Said June.
Do we have a board meeting January?
Correction, January 29th.
June 29th?
We're,
Okay.
we're gonna have to move the January 22nd board meeting.
Thank you.
I won't be here, so.
It seemed late, so, okay,
Yes.
thanks.
So board meetings will be the 8th, and it was gonna be the 22nd. I'm gonna request we change it to 29th, so.
Okay. Everyone's good with
Okay.
what is proposed, so we'll go down to 7.04, Project Advocates, Project Manager Contract.
So this is, when I said I was gonna have a request, this is my request. So I have gone to school many years, too many. Originally, I wasn't gonna be an actual, like, medical doctor, because I didn't want to go to school for 8 years, and then 13 years later, I finished my doctorate in education, so. But one of those things I didn't do is I never obtained any kind of engineering, project management, construction degree. And so, even though I've done several projects, I feel like with a district this size, with the amount of needs that we have, both growth needs and infrastructure needs that, and really, not only that, but, you know, efficiency needs, and, I mean, we just have a lot of issues. I wanted to see if I can partner with an organization who does this for a living, so they can come in and make sure that, I'm able to do my job, which is to be, you know, really in the schools and in the classrooms, and making sure that I'm visible, and making sure that I'm helping with the educational sector. And this whole semester has been kind of devoted towards the bond, you know, and that's fine, it's great. Although it's hard to carry both roles. So, Project Advocates, has been vetted. We did an interview, I kind of had it down. I vetted several companies down to Project Advocates and another company. I asked Amy and Doreen to sit on those, kind of interviews, just to talk about what services they provide and how they could help us move forward. Project Advocates, came to mind because they helped the city with, the police stations, so they know, and they also work with West Side Schools. They do a lot of public infrastructure, a lot of public facilities. So met with them last week with Shive Hattery. I think the role would be Shive Hattery would stay on as architect, engineer. Project Advocates would take the lead on a lot of the program design, or not program design, but project design, or not even design, plan design.
Priorities.
That's what I want. Plan design, making sure that we're moving forward with what is it we have to do in the meantime, and then what is it that we're gonna go back and request the community to help us with again. I think, I'm a big believer that if the community votes something and they're not for it, we need to adjust. We need to take the feedback, we need to adjust, we need to approach it with a different mindset. To take the exact same plan and just go back to community and say, nope, this is it, you need to go, there's a better way to do it. So, I do have Rob Zimmerman from Project Advocates. He's here if you guys have any questions for him. One of the things they did last week was I asked him to go ahead and get in contact with Jim Edelman, and Shive was gonna send him all of their files for their, all the plans and everything they've scanned that we have currently on the buildings. Their first priority that I've kind of tasked them with, if the board approves their consulting contract, is to look at what do we need to do now? You know, primarily getting the chillers and the high school roofs and the Titan Hill HVAC system figured out. And that was a direction that actually came from my facility committee. So I met with, and Bubba's on the facility committee, we met, we talked, and I said, you know, what are some priorities? What came out of that conversation was, well, we gotta get these main things fixed now, and then they need to take a look at all of the requests that we had with Shive Hattery, try to organize that for us again, and then in January, we'll reconvene with the facility committee in hopefully a more organized manner, so we can try to figure out, like, what's next. After those initial things, what's next, what do we need to focus on, what do we need to request from the community? And then if we do decide we get to a point where we need to run a bond again, then we'll have a different plan in place to be able to present the community and say, you know, this is what we need, you know? So, I guess, do you guys have any questions for Rob? Nothing?
So in terms of, you know, preparing for an eventual bond request, one of the pieces of feedback that we received was, you know, we didn't have a clear picture of a project timeline of what it would look like, you know, if the bond was approved. Would we be able to have something like that to present back to the community?
Absolutely. That's one of the steps that we take, is we'll take all the needs and help prioritize them, and then create individual projects. Part of that is a timeline and planning that out, because with existing buildings and what we're looking at, and we're not sure what what's gonna happen and what will get prioritized, but a lot of times, if it's a renovation, we're gonna have to move students around, and that takes a lot of intricate planning. So we typically build out a schedule, you know, could be a 3-year duration, 4-year duration. But also, the other thing that schedule helps us do is we look at escalation and inflation in that pricing. So we'll typically price everything in today's dollars, and then based on that schedule, if it's a part of that project's 3 years from now, we'll escalate that cost, put it in a separate line item to cover that, almost like a contingency. So that schedule is very important, not just for timing, but also how we price the project and try to predict the final cost.
When you design those schedules, like I'm thinking in terms of communication between us and our community, if there needs to be a change, are they very adjustable
Oh,
if
yeah.
we need to?
Yeah, what we like to do is meet with you and the community even as that's developing, because there might be some constraints that we don't see, and take that feedback to adjust the schedules as we go.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm really, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, like, in regards to the campaign and stuff, what's your guys' involvement in the past with some of the projects that you've worked on?
So we'll put the information together. We're not a polling company, or, you know, we're not gonna, that's not what we do, but we'll put together the collateral and the planning and provide that information for the district and whatever consultants you would work with to, you know, communicate that. But we'll provide the information and do all the analytics and data collection. So you have everything you need to make sound decisions and then communicate those decisions to the community.
So a lot of times, like when they work with Westside then hires a PR company too to help them communicate and help spread the message. So some of the other companies we looked at kind of have that built in a little bit. I think the reason that I gravitated towards Project Advocates, not only the fact that they're locally based. Do you live in Council? No.
I don't, actually, what is exciting for us is one of our team members lives in Council
Yeah.
Bluffs. He's a Lewis Central graduate himself, and his son graduated, I think, a
Last
year
year.
ago.
Yep, just last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of locally connected. But one of the things that I liked was, instead of talking about like actual like building design and that kind of stuff, they're more interested in the nuts and bolts. They're more interested in timely program planning, and then really like they're the guys that that the architects would go to get pricing, you know. So they're the guys that actually do the pricing and actually get a little more honed in. So as before, when we had some pricing out there and pricing estimates, you know, it was a little harder for the architects to articulate why the pricing was so, because they're just getting numbers from other people. These are the other people, so they'll be able to more articulately talk about, if you go to them and say, why is the high school parking lot estimated at $2.5 million? You know, they're gonna be able to say, because of this, so. And those were the two things, like to Tim's point, you know, schedule and timing, and making sure that the community has a good understanding of what we're spending the money on. So that's why I kind of gravitated toward these guys, because I feel like they can fill both those buckets for us, so. And just to be clear, they operate kind of off just a fee-based schedule. There's no, because we're not doing a large project planning or anything at that, you know, at this point. The same thing Shive Hattery is kind of working off right now. So they just charge us as they go, as far as how much time it takes them and their resources. So.
And if we did bring in a PR person or firm, Shive Hattery, Project Advocates, and the PR would all work together.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you for coming.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
thank you. All right, 7.05, employee requests for other paid or unpaid leave. Per Iowa code, we are allowed to go into closed session for that. So would someone please make a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. And with that, we're closing. comments and suggestions. This is the second time during our agenda that anyone in the audience or anyone online can type something in to address the board. I laughed because we have no audience, so. All right, hearing none, we'll go on to action items. 9.01, bus purchase.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 3 used 2020 Thomas EFX MPV FE buses from National Bus Sales for a price of $266,610, including delivery fee and upgrades to Iowa standards.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.02, project advocates.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Adkins.
I would like to make a motion to authorize the contract with Project Advocates as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.03, employee request for other paid or unpaid leave.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Adkins.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the requested leave.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. Items of interest, our next board meeting will be January 8th. We also have, I think any board member can go to the January 10th new board.
Yep, if they want to.
Okay,
And
and
we
there
have
is
2 going.
one in Glenwood. I
Yep.
mean, this is in Glenwood.
Yep.
And so I would like to put down, I'd like to go to that.
Okay, yeah, I'll have Anna sign you up.
Okay, all right,
I will not be at the January 8th meeting.
okay,
I know you said you
I
would
will
either,
not be
so-
here.
all
I
right.
can possibly, get here after his performance, but I don't know exactly where in the lineup that he will perform. So,
And what time does it start?
starts at 7.
7?
So if it's short, I can come before.
No, that's fine. I'll make sure that that's a fairly light one. I was gonna do my mid-year goals that night, but if both you're gonna be gone, I'll just do it on the 29th. Does everybody know if they'll be here on the?
I can remote in on the 29th. I
Okay.
can't on the 8th, but
Okay.
I'll still be out
Okay.
of town.
Because we will change our board meeting from the,
Because we can do the 29th, or we can do,
Third.
because it'll be like February 8th will be the next one, or February, so one of those two. I'll be in touch with you guys. I just know I gotta get my mid-year goals done, so you guys can tell me what to do.
we can do that without, you
Oh.
know? No goals for you, we'll just tell you what to do. All right, anything else? And then our second board meeting in January is January 29th.
That's correct, yep.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can stay, otherwise?